Hey everyone, it's Ryan and welcome back to another week's update of the Guelph real estate market. It is starting to look a little bit like a spring market out there. And today I want to talk about two things. One of them is how the first quarter of this year ended in totality and how that compares to last year. But also how April is starting out and what we anticipate is going to be happening through the month of April and maybe even into May. In the last podcast episode I did, and if you don't listen to the podcast on the Guelph real estate market, you certainly can. We are getting to the 100 download mark, which was pretty exciting for me. Probably not for most people, but for me it was. And we talked about this, how the end of the quarter was going to look. Obviously, we're past the end of the quarter now, ending March 31st. So the numbers are in, and the specifics are, I'll read them here to you. We're down about 15% in dollar volume. So that's if you add up all of the numbers together. We are down about 12% in actual number of homes that have sold. And the average price is also slightly down from a year ago. Not by much. We're in the mid 770s, around 775. It's not a terrible decline versus last year, but it is still a decline. So on all the key metrics, unit volume is down, dollar volume is down, and average price is down. The one thing that has shot up are the number of listings. So when you get a situation in any sort of market, when there is more supply, there is less demand on each individual house, which makes sense. And as a result, prices start to decline. And in Guelph, we're starting to see that. I've talked about this a lot, where certain segments, it's almost like there are two markets, where we have started to see some declines. But I think that the majority of the hesitation this year has come from south of the border, and a lot of political talk about tariffs, and rightfully so, it is creeping into the Guelph real estate market. There was a report that came out, I think it was the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. It was a report that outlined that Guelph is most likely to be the highest impact city in Canada if tariffs take place, because of our reliance on agriculture and manufacturing. And if that is the case, of course, no one is going to go out and buy a house. And so as a result, the market really slowed down. Beth and I had a strong January. February and March were slow, and now we're back to April, which is really strong again. So it is a very volatile market out there. Q1 in particular was extremely volatile, and hopefully that settles down a little bit. Looking into April, we typically expect to see some of the peak volume sales through April, May for sure, and June. April has started off pretty strong. There are 55 sales so far this month. So we're looking at about 5.5-ish sales per day, which is great. And it's the highest so far this year, because we've been treading in the 2s or the 3s and the 4s per day for a little while now. So to be into the 5s again puts us more at a regular market, although still a little bit light, but more so a regular market. If you look at the two segments, we continue to see struggles in the condo segment. I read a number of reports this week that talked about how there is going to be more and more development of the cheaper priced or lower priced home segments. So those would be condos or townhouses or stacked townhouses. As there is more strain on employment, and more people can't afford the home prices that are out there today, and new comers to Canada, as well as a lot of young people, including probably by the time our kids get to be a little bit older, they would be put in that group too. And there needs to be a lot more housing for the entry-level segment. And as a result, there is a lot of that product. It's saturated, not only in Guelph, but in other communities all around the GTA as well. And if you listen to some of the Toronto realtors or mortgage brokers, they like to talk about how the condo market in Toronto is collapsing. Great for buyers, not so great for all the investors that bought in there and really bid up the market. And now it's coming down. So there is a bit of a challenge there. However, the other side of that is that the single family home segment or detached home segment, there's almost no development there. And I saw a chart, and I wish I had kept it, but I saw a chart this week that talked about development and builds of single family homes, and it was almost none. And as a result of that, when using my same example, when you have limited supply or no new supply, but there is demand for that segment, prices are going to remain stable. And we're starting to see that loud and clear. I mean, something we've been talking about for a long time now, if you look back in our videos. And, last week as an example, the first 10 days of April, there were 32 sales of single family detached homes. And of that, 12 of them sold over the asking price. Now, the asking price may be artificially low, but it goes to show that there is demand, that houses are selling over the asking price in such a volatile market. And also in Guelph, it's interesting to see that there were 2 sales so far this month over $2 million, which there are only a handful per year in Guelph. And so 2 of them sold in April, which is interesting. I think it goes more so to the theory that I have of when times get tough, people that live in the GTA, which continually represent a good portion of the Guelph market, come into Guelph. They have more money to spend because they sold a home in a more expensive market. For those people, it's a deal because they sold a home in a more expensive market and are down pricing in Guelph. This is something we saw in COVID. I think we're going to start seeing it again. It's indicative of some of the showings we get on our listings of realtors who are coming from the GTA to show houses because they have a client there who wants to move from Brampton or Mississauga or Toronto, and they don't have a local agent. And they should get a local agent, but they don't have one. And so they come into Guelph. And so when you start seeing a surge of those realtors again, you know that there's an influx of GTA buyers coming with it. So that segment, single family homes, still very strong in Guelph into early April. A stat for you is that the most transactions or most volume typically happens in May. There's the most selection and there are the most sales happening in May. So it goes sort of up to May and then it comes down from there. But May is really the peak and it starts to really come down after June. So we anticipate there's going to be a lot of volume that hits the market, in particular in the south part of Guelph. And we're already starting to see it. And a good measure for us is to talk with our stagers and with photographers, because they are sort of a forward indicator of what's to come. If a stager is really busy, that means obviously there are a lot of houses coming. If a photographer is really busy, it means there are a lot of houses coming. And so both of them seem to be pretty busy, and we anticipate that. Now, all you need in the market is the other half of that equation, which are the buyers. And if the buyers don't show up in April and May and June, you're going to have a whole lot of inventory and not enough buyers, which is a recipe for declining prices. Great for buyers, not so great for someone trying to sell their house. If you are selling, you can probably expect it's going to take a little bit longer. Getting the price right out of the gate is the most important part, but it does take on average a few days longer because buyers are taking their time. They have options, they're comparing options, they're talking to their bank, they're thinking long and hard before they make a decision to buy a house these days, in most cases. And as a result, the whole process takes a little bit longer. If you are interested in talking to us about selling your house, you can always find us on our website. You can book an appointment there. You can call us. You can email us at bethandryan.ca. You'll find a blog post also that's going to go along with this on our website, as well as episode number 12 on the Guelph real estate market. So we're accessible. Call us if you have questions, and we'll talk to you later.